Since his first ever children's book, The Boy in the Dress, was published in 2008, David Walliams has gone on to become one of the most successful children's authors of all time, spending a record-breaking 240 weeks at #1 in the charts.
God, Norris McWhirter would love you. A record break. He's just published his 42nd book, Super Sleuth. This is your first murder mystery.
Yes, I've never done a murder mystery before, but I've always enjoyed murder mysteries. But I always think you had to have a scientific brain to come up with the plot, which I don't have. But I worked really hard on the plot, and you said your kids are reading it now.
Yes.
And they haven't guessed who the murderer is.
No, we're not that far in, and I've also been doing funny voices and all those kind of things.
Well, let's hear them.
Yeah.
Well, there's one
Let's see how funny they are.
They're not funny, but
they're silly voices.
There's a maestro in this,
so
who's the Italian detective.
Yes, so the premise of the book is there is a cruise ship going from America to England. It's a week-long journey. On the first night of the journey, the world's most famous detective is murdered. So a little girl called Dilly and her dog Watson, they're sort of amateur sleuths, they have to solve the crime. And like in all murder mysteries, the bodies pile up. But don't worry, people die in a funny way, like the maestro died... Well, I've given it away, haven't I? But the maestro dies in a vat of blancmange, you know. So, so don't worry if you think it's going to be scary.
No. There's also one bit that he absolutely loved yesterday when we were reading it, because he'd just had his first day back at school, so he was exhausted. So he got under the duvet with me when we sat and read your book.
And he loved...
He just likes the pictures, Patrick. The little boy reads. And he loved the poop deck.
Yeah.
That was his really funny
so
bit.
this is the dog Watson who's come on the journey, and so there's a silly joke about, you know, Watson needing a poop and going to the poop deck, and that's the image of what happens if the dog doesn't poop for a whole week and sort of balloons.
He covered it over and then revealed it to me.
David, did you do sort of research into the idea of murder mystery and sort of plan? Is it a bit more...
I had to plan it completely.
Sort of like a map of sort of who goes...
Yes, yes. It's almost like, especially on a cruise ship, you know, you have to work out who's where each time, and obviously people need to go missing at certain times, and so therefore they could be suspects. So it was... I spent as long working out the plot as I did writing the book, which was a morning.
But it's so good, because you have that thing where you don't talk down to kids, you make it really interesting. You also do a thing, because the first one that I ever read to my boys was Gangster Granny. And it was just... What was so nice about it is she does die in the end. You don't...
Spoiler alert.
You don't... But you
I haven't read it. I didn't know that.
But you don't shy away from those big ideas too. And so it opened up a conversation.
Yeah, about grief. Grandpa's Great Escape is about a grandpa who sort of... He doesn't remember anything more. He thinks he's back in the Second World War. So I think if you've got a serious subject... but you can do it in a sort of fun way with humour, not laughing at the serious subject, but just there's some humour, there's some adventure. I think it's then, you know, kids they'll enjoy reading the book, and then also they'll come away with something, with a sort of deeper meaning or something to think about.
And we've got lots of questions to ask you, but actually we thought it'd be better if some of our viewers' children could ask you some questions, of course, because theirs will be all the more pertinent. I think we've got a question from Amy first.
My question is, what inspired you to make your books? Because when I'm older, I want to be a child author too.
She's got all of your books there.
Every single one.
Well, thank you very much.
So what inspired you, David?
What inspired me? I think what really inspired me is just having a story to tell. So the first book was The Boy in the Dress, and I thought, what would happen if a boy went to school dressed as a girl? How would his friends react? How would the family react? How would the teachers react? And so I think if you've got something you want to tell people, then that is really the starting point, is really the story. But I look forward to reading your books one day.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing, Amy?
Yeah,
it's lovely that you can be inspired by someone else.
Yeah, and Alfred inspired the Mega Monsters, didn't he, as
my son, who you've both met, he's 11 years old, and he's creative, and he, like, when we're walking the dogs in the park, he's always coming up with ideas for my books, but he does want half the money.
Quite right, too.
OK, we've got another question now, and it's from Ruby.
Hello, David Walliams. My name is Ruby, and I love your books, especially this one called Slime. I just got a question for you. Why is your book so funny?
Oh, that's a
well, I like to make them funny because I think then kids are going to have a great time reading them. you know, and there's nothing better. I mean, parents often say, you know, how happy they were to see their kid enjoying a book and laughing along with it. So I love humour, I love making people laugh, and it's a pleasure to think, you know, people are enjoying them in that way, and hopefully, you know, families sharing some of the jokes together as well.
Yeah. There's that thing, isn't there, as parents, when you're watching your kids spontaneously laughing at something they're consuming, whether it's a book or whatever, is joyous. It's a really special
I know.
feeling.
I always say, because, you know, people often say, oh, are you happy at the moment? I go, my son is happy, so I'm happy.
Yes.
There's nothing better, is there?
Yeah.
I recently took him to Disneyland Paris, and the people
How was
said,
that?
oh, how long are you here for? I said, too long. But he was happy, so I was happy.
How many times did you go around on the rides?
We did the Big Thunder Mountain 11 times.
11?
Back to back to back?
And I felt sick every single time I went on it.
And
Not
did
back
it-
to back to
and
back,
was
over
he-
3 days.
But was he enjoying the fact that you were really struggling on it?
Oh,
as well?
yeah.
Yeah,
That
makes
only
it more
adds
fun.
the enjoyment that I
Makes it
turned
more
green.
fun, doesn't it?
Excellent. We
right.
have got another question from Jasper.
Yeah.
He's got a question.
My question to David is, are any of the characters in your books based on real people?
That's a great
That is a good question. Well, whenever I'm trying to think of an evil villain, I always think, what would Simon Cowell do? No. Yes, they are. There's a character of Bert in Ratburger who's the villain.
Yes.
And he was actually inspired by a Little Britain contestant, because this guy came on and his name was Cockroach Ken, and he started eating live cockroaches. And he got buzzed off
Do you
very
mean
quickly.
Britain's Got Talent, not Little Britain?
Oh, sorry.
Britain, I
Same
don't remember the
thing.
Little Britain episode that was a
Little Britain's
competition.
Got Talent. I remember.
Or
I only in
possibly
show with Britain in the
best
title.
pop factor
Yeah,
with
sorry.
Strictly on Ice.
So it was on Britain's Got Talent?
It was on Britain's Got Talent. Thank you for pointing that out. And yeah, this guy came on. He was sort of quite strange looking, and he said his name was Cockroach. Ate the cockroaches, and when he went off the stage, because he got passed off, I kept on thinking, well, a man who eats live cockroaches, what else might he do? Might he turn rats into burgers? So you never know when an idea might come about.
Inspiration.
It's often not someone saying, oh, I've got an idea for your book. It's just something that happens around you. So it's the big question, where do you get your ideas from?
Yeah.
I think, for kids out there, it's just keeping your eyes and ears open, because you never know when you might have a good idea for a story.
Yeah.
And one last question, this one's from Jackson.
Rappa is a great escape at the minute, and also it's my favourite so far. I like the World War II plane that's called the Spitfire, and I really like all the stuff in it. And also, have you got a favourite book?
Oh,
My favourite book is The Twits by
Oh,
Roald
that's
Dahl, because I
great.
think it's hilarious. And also, I think it's very inventive, because most children's books have children in them, and they're not the lead characters in The Twits. It's about an old married couple who hate each other, and anyone married can really relate to it. And it's all the, surreal, hilarious ways they kind of undermine each other.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
Yes,
It's
and they turn the house
It's so
upside down.
inventive. The
Yeah.
houses, there's a trick played on them, and their house
And
is
the
turned upside down.
monkeys paint the ceilings.
So
yeah.
I always think, like, for me, Roald Dahl is like the gold standard, as in, I love his books. I've always loved reading his books. I loved reading them all with my son. And I think because he's so great, it's like he's always up there. He's on the pedestal, and all we can ever do is sort of try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's the gold standard. There's no bad thing, someone being the gold
and
standard.
you're still loving the writing as well.
Yeah, I love it, because it's, to be able to do what you love obviously doesn't ever feel like a job. And also the fact that kids are now, looking forward to your new book coming out is amazing, and I get to go around the country doing events and signings and things. So it's great. I mean, it's creative, and also you don't feel lonely because you're with the characters the whole time. And I've always tried to do something new in each book.
Yeah.
Because when you've written this many books, I mean, it's quantity over quality. There are a lot of books. You want to always try and do something new. But, yeah, I think the best thing is that people find them funny.
Yeah.
Because being, funny makes people happy.
Yeah, you're
Absolutely.
absolutely right.
Well, all of the kids that ask questions are going to get a signed copy of David's latest book.
Yes, if they could just send
Super
£10.
Sleuth. And it's out now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lovely to see you.
I'll be back tomorrow.
We'll look forward to it. Hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.